criticism in the sports world.
Everybody has their opinions, and you know what? They're entitled to them, but just like you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to not listen. And I do think, though, it's really important to understand. I don't read comments anymore, and I do want to hear when fans think that the show, you were talking too fast for me to understand. I want to hear things that I can work on and be better to help people feel like they're more of in the conversation in their living room. I think you just have to sort out understanding that when people have mean-spirited things to say, they're probably dealing.
Today, we're breaking down the latest controversy surrounding Malika Andrews because the discussion around her has taken yet another surprising twist. And trust me, this one has people talking. More viewers are now pointing to what they see as a recurring trend in her ESPN coverage during the NBA draft, claiming the same storyline seems to appear whenever Black fathers become part of the conversation. I'm not going to spend this entire video rehashing every controversy tied to Malika Andrews or every criticism she's faced over her reporting on Black NBA players and Black men, because chances are you already know that history. By now, most of you have also seen how much attention the public has given to her personal life, especially when it comes to the man she married. For quite some time, many believed she was determined to keep that relationship away from public attention. But once people started connecting the dots online, keeping everything under wraps became nearly impossible. Eventually, the relationship was confirmed publicly, bringing much of the non-stop speculation to an end. But that's not even the biggest part of this story, and you won't believe what happens next. If you've been following this channel, then you already know I've covered Malika Andrews several times before, so there's no need to replay every old headline. The real focus today is that not long ago, she responded to the growing criticism from people questioning her perspective and reporting on Black men. And now those remarks have been pulled back into the spotlight as this debate continues.
Know that much about what people think of them.
Right.
And I've gotten much better at not looking. There was a time in which I would search my name, this, that, and the other. I've quit that, but it doesn't mean you don't feel it. I have no idea how you do it with the amount of people that I think if I feel that, I can only imagine how that feels for you and how you deal with it. I want to be two things. I want to be accurate and I want to be fair.
For sure, yep.
And if I'm not one of those two things, you might not always like me, but this is my number. Please call me. And people have called and they've said that. And I say that oftentimes before, especially before I'm talking to folks about something that is sensitive or tough, because these things come up. And it is hurtful. Like I think that's okay to say sometimes. It hurts. Even it doesn't matter if it is someone who is credible or someone with a big platform, or if it's someone in their mom's basement just firing off a post. Sometimes it is hurtful when that seeps through, particularly for me when it's not true.
Right.
And that's been the hardest part for me sometimes is stomaching the falsehoods, particularly, this you hate Black men or think that couldn't be farther from the truth, and using my family or the way that my family looks as some sort of evidence of that. And that is just untrue.
For sure.
So that was Malika Andrews addressing the backlash. But for many critics, those remarks didn't settle anything because they believe the exact same issue has surfaced once again. According to the people calling her out, she's still promoting what they view as the same narrative about Black men during ESPN's live NBA draft coverage. Now, this is where I need you to pay close attention because the next clip really does the talking on its own. As you listen, focus carefully on the language she uses throughout the broadcast and see if anything stands out to you. You might be surprised by what you hear, especially since many viewers argue she makes the same kind of observation about multiple young players introduced on draft night. Watch this clip all the way through, and then we'll break down why it's creating such a strong reaction across social media and what has everyone debating it.
His mother, Giselle, with saving his life when he was struggling in high school. And he told me that when he walks across the stage, he wants people to know that there were so many times, he said, that it was hard for me to believe in myself and he was close to giving up. And this woman, Giselle, it was his mom, who used to call him every single draft night and ask him, "Are you watching?" because someday this could be you and someday this could be us. And Yaxel found out that his mom had appendix cancer last fall, and she's still in that fight. But he told me that this moment is for her. You can see that here. A tremendous story, Jay, and a tremendous player.
And NCAA champion, you see him there, Carlos Boozer. But it was his mom, Cameron told me, who drove him to every single practice, every tournament, helped him find all of his trainers. He, of course, played with his twin brother, Caden, at Duke.
All right, now that you've seen the clip, it's easy to understand why the internet exploded the moment it started circulating across social media. The comment sections quickly filled with viewers questioning what they had just watched, with many arguing that Black fathers were being overlooked in a way they found hard to ignore. One of the biggest talking points centered around Carlos Boozer, as many people couldn't understand why a former NBA star with a well-respected career received little to no mention while his own son was being drafted. Critics said the same wording and the same narrative seemed to repeat from one prospect to the next, making the coverage feel unusually familiar. They also argued that even the descriptions of each player's mother sounded almost identical, as if only the names had changed while the overall script remained exactly the same. That's why so many viewers insist this wasn't just a random coincidence, but part of a pattern they believe became impossible to overlook. In their opinion, Malika Andrews became the face of that message because she was the one presenting it live on ESPN during the broadcast. Whether those words came from producers, researchers, or another source behind the scenes, critics argued they were still delivered on air without any obvious challenge or adjustment. You won't believe how fast people tied this moment to earlier controversies, saying it only added more fuel to the long-running criticism that has followed her throughout her time at the network.
That Missoula was arrested twice at West Virginia, once in 2008 for underage drinking and aggravated assault. He pled guilty, paid a fine, and then again in 2009 for domestic battery after an incident at Morgantown Bar. The domestic battery case never went to trial. It was settled in August of 2009. He paid a $100 fine and court costs, plus had to do 40 hours of community service. Now, that was 13 years ago. He settled and paid both fines.
Oh, man, Malika, Malika. I said, Malika, Malika. Hey, boo-boo, you should have stayed quiet. When you spoke about all the other black players, when you got backlash from talking about that young brother doing the draft, in his shining moment, you brought up a situation. This ain't have nothing to do with this young man. He wasn't guilty of anything. But yet and still, you brought that up during his draft moment. And guess what you said happened? Guess why you said you did it, ma'am? You said, I did it because I was doing my job. The bosses told me to do it. Remember you said that? And remember when I first came to the internet, I said, y'all some script reading. I won't say that because you're a female and I don't want them to think I'm saying that because you're a female. But I said that y'all are some script reading B-words. And I was.
Now, whether you agree with those criticisms or see the situation differently, one thing is clear. This debate surrounding Malika Andrews isn't fading anytime soon. Critics believe moments like this reinforce concerns they've been voicing for years, while her supporters argue the backlash is being taken out of context, which is exactly why the discussion keeps gaining momentum. But now it's your turn, because this story has triggered some passionate reactions all across social media.
This is not about pointing the finger. Stop. The fact that it was able to go on all day, the fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
When they asked, is anybody else going to be punished? And they said no. And my whole thing is this, right? These are some of the facts that have been out. These are some facts that I know that you know, this relationship, one of these relationships that was had with Ime Udoka and one of these women, it was consensual, meaning that this woman actually played a part in it too. So my thing is, yes, Ime Udoka was wrong. We get that. His punishment, he deserved that, and whatever else follows, I hate it for him, but he put himself in this position. But why are the other people getting left off the hook?
Well,
That's the problem that I have right now. Everybody got to be held accountable.
I think that we need to circle back to what Sinead.
Now, this is the point where the conversation shifted in a major way, because the debate was no longer just about deciding who deserved the blame. Stephen A. Smith argued that the real issue was how this story had been allowed to dominate headlines for so long, while people continued debating whether anyone besides Ime Udoka should have faced consequences. He pushed back against the idea that his comments were meant to target or criticize women, stressing that wasn't the message he was trying to deliver. Instead, he questioned why, after officials announced that no one else would face disciplinary action, so many important questions still remained unanswered. His argument focused on reports describing one of the relationships involving Ime Udoka as consensual, meaning both adults were willing participants in the situation. At the same time, he made it clear that Udoka was responsible for his own actions and accepted that the suspension resulted from those decisions. Even with that acknowledgement, he continued asking whether accountability had truly been applied equally to everyone connected to the matter. You won't believe how quickly that viewpoint reignited the debate, leaving viewers sharply divided over whether the organization handled the situation fairly or whether key issues were never fully addressed.